guys. So right now, the best-selling novel, basically, in America is called 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James. For those of you who don't know, it's an erotic novel. Originally, it was a fan fiction based off Twilight. So any of the names in the book used to be Bella and Edward, now it's Christian and Anastasia. I know a lot of people are interested in what it's about, but they don't want to take the time to read it. Well, I've taken the time to read it for you, and right now I'm going to explain the entire plot of 50 Shades of Grey. It's basically, this book was Twilight for adults with some bondage and BDSM stuff. Our book opens with our heroine, Anastasia, aka Bella. She's 21. She's apparently smart, even though she does several actions in the book to counteract this. She's an English literature student, and she lives with her obviously more exciting and better looking roommate, something, I don't even remember her name. Anastasia has never had a boyfriend, really. She's never had sex with anyone. A lot of guys like her though. For some reason. She has several suitors. Anastasia's roommate is like a journalist, and she's actually kind of interesting, but we don't get to hear from her that much. She wants to interview a millionaire who lives in Seattle named Christian Grey, and so she happens to be sick one day and she cannot make the interview, so she sends her best friend Anastasia up to Seattle to interview the infamous Christian Grey. When she first meets Christian Grey, she stumbles into his office and falls flat on her face, clumsy, just like Bella. He's obviously very attractive. He's like 27, she's 21. He's a billionaire, she's a moron, and so obviously they make a connection somehow. Anastasia leaves the interview feeling mortified, and she thinks she'll never see this guy again. Whoop-de-doo. Goes back, says the interview sucked, and she can't get Christian Grey out of her mind because he's apparently amazing after the 10 minutes they talk to each other. Christian Grey then shows up at the hardware store where Anastasia is working, and she's just like, why is he in my store? Oh my god, I'm so nervous. Ah! And he says, would you like a photo or something for the article that your friend is writing? And she goes, she would love that. Here's my number, and they set a date to take photos of him for this article. They meet in this hotel, her and her friend Jose, Jacob Black, and her dumb roommate. They all go to the hotel and meet Christian, and he takes pictures, and, you know, whatever, it's all done, and he goes, Anastasia, would you like to go get coffee with me? And she's like, oh my god, I don't even like coffee, but he's so intimidating, and I'm just, what am I gonna do? I can't believe he even likes me when my friend's in the room and she's so much better. Yeah, I don't get it either, but whatever, they're gonna go for coffee. This is the beginning of this relationship, and the beginning of Christian demanding that Anastasia eat all the time. He's like, eat. Eat, woman, eat. I cannot even count the amount of times he forces her to eat her food. It's ridiculous. Automatically, if I'm at a restaurant with a guy and he's like, you need to be eating more, or you should eat this, and I'm gonna order for you. Fuck you. Excuse me, I'm a person, not a fucking wall. For some reason, Anastasia finds this endearing or whatever, and he basically is like, you should stay away from me, Edward. He's like, I'm no good for you, and she's like, meh. So she runs out into traffic on the way back to the hotel where she's parked, and a bicyclist almost hits her, but he saves her at the last minute and like crushes her to him, and they're about to kiss, and he's like, just please stay away from me. And she's like, oh, and he goes, I shudder to think what could have happened to you if that cyclist had ran you over. Oh god, how terrible would that have been? She's shaken because he didn't kiss her, and the cyclist almost killed her apparently. So he drops her off at the parking garage, and she just cries on the ground. She literally has like a panic attack and goes up against a wall and cries, and for like 20 minutes. What are you crying about? Something you never had? That night, Anna graduates, and so her and her friend Jose and her roommate go to a bar. And Anna, being the ever interesting person she is, has never been drunk before. Surprise! So she orders margaritas and she gets plastered. And she ends up drunk dialing Christian Grey, and he's like, where are you? What's wrong? You sound drunk. And she's like, I'm not, blah, I'm in a bathroom and my life's hard. Why don't you like me? And he's like, where are you? I'm coming to get you. And she's like, I'm not telling. And then she hangs up. Obviously he's a billionaire, so he tracks her phone. God. And she goes outside with Jose, Jacob, and he tries to like make out with her, and she's like, no. And he's like, and then Christian shows up and he's like, I think the lady said no. And Anastasia's like, how'd you find me? And he's like, it was easy. And then she throws up everywhere and passes out, and then she wakes up in Christian's bed at the hotel. like with her like pants off. Excuse me, hi, friends that I have, maybe, I don't know, Jose or my roommate. Why the hell did you let me go off with a guy who, when I was passed out, blacked out drunk, to his hotel room, I wake up with no pants on in his bed, and somehow she's fine with it. She's like, that's weird. For some reason, Christian's obsessed with her again, and he's like, I can't stay away from you. Come to my, like, Seattle mansion and, like, hang out with me, and I'm dirty. And so she's like, okay. So Christian flies her in a helicopter, whatever, to her house, or to his house, and then he's like, I want you to be my submissive because I'm a dominant and I want to bang the crap out of you and dominate you. And she's like, what? I'm so confused. And then she finally lets him know that yes, she is a virgin, and Christian's like, holy crap, we have to fix this situation. How romantic. And she's like intrigued, like, yeah, totally want to fix it. So they have sex twice, and they do some like other really gross stuff, and it's like whatever, and she's like, I want more, and he's like, no, I have issues, I was adopted. And I can't remember what really happens because it gets kind of boring, but basically something happens where he ends up at her house, and she's like, have sex with me, and he's like, no. And then she rolls her eyes at him, and he's like, ooh, I'm gonna spank you for that. Anyway, he bends her over and spanks the crap out of her. And she's like, why are you hitting me? This is so mean, but I'm turned on for some reason. And then they have sex again, and then he basically like leaves her again, and she cries. I know, she cries a bunch after that, per usual. Just chalk it up to about 10 cries in the book by this point. We're only like 80 pages in, I think. Throughout the course of this, Christian ends up buying her a MacBook, a brand new Audi car, which is basically what Edward does for Bella, and she's like, I don't get technology. I'm 21 and it's 2011 and I don't have like a BlackBerry or anything, and come on, so unbelievable. What are you? You're like a 40-year-old British woman. You're not a 21-year-old girl living in Seattle, Portland. I'm sorry. You would have a smartphone, you would check your email a lot, and just, or at least a cell phone. She's like, I haven't checked my phone today. Are you stupid? Everyone checks their phone like 30 million times a day. Earlier in the book, after they have sex for the first time, he's like, this is my bondage room. It's like a playroom, he calls it, with like a bunch of whips and chains and like floggers and stuff. Super kinky and weird, and she doesn't run at all. She's like, this is okay, I could try this out. It's so intriguing. No, it's weird. If a guy has a secret room full of like things to beat you with, oh, I get that some people have sexual fetishes and whatever, and that's totally fine. But for someone like this girl who's sexually inexperienced, and she's like, maybe, no, not real. No, this would never happen. Christian wants her to sign a contract or something that says like he can basically beat the crap out of her and still have sex with her. And she's like, I don't know, I have to think about it. There's nothing to think about, don't sign it. And she never really does. But he gets her to read the contract, and the contract is ridiculous. It's basically like he monitors what she eats. She has to eat like 3 meals a day. She can't smoke, she can't do drugs, she can't go out with friends and drink, she can't put herself in harm's way, she can't have other sexual relationships, she has to work out 4 times a week with a personal trainer. It's just, it's so controlling and weird, and she's just like, I'm considering it. Weird. It says things like, for the first time in ages I blushed, or I'm crying for the first time in ages. I can remember the first time he cried. It was 10 pages ago. You cry all the time, you blush all the time. Christian has this thing with her biting her lip. He's like, don't bite your lip, I want to bite it for you. It's like he tells her to all the time. She's so boring that she drinks her tea with hot water, and then she dips her tea bag in like twice. And she's like, I like my tea weak. Oh yeah, like your personality. She says several times that you scare me when you're angry, and she doesn't really think anything of it. Towards the end, she knows by this point that he's like a crazy beater, and she's like, oh, I want you to beat me. And he's like, okay, so he takes her to the room and he spanks the crap out of her like 6 times, so she's crying and she's bruised everywhere. And she ends up crying and she's like, I hate you, you're so weird. And like she finally gets it at the end. She's like, what's wrong with you? There's something so seriously wrong with you. And then she leaves him, and that's the end of the book. She leaves him. But there's like a part 2, so I'm sure she'll go back to him and cry some more and get the shit beat out of her some more, because hey, romantic and fun. So that's my plot review of 50 Shades of Grey. Some other stuff happens, but who cares? It's dumb. Bye!